What the Texas governor should do is invite those who were trying to find housing in his state to give them housing. We think that all of those border states that are not doing what we're doing and ensuring that we are welcoming people and helping people, they need to do a better job. But also the federal government has a responsibility.
That was New York City Mayor Eric Adams talking about migrants showing up here in the city as 100,000 of illegal migrants flood into America. Democrats across the country are starting to wake up about the border crisis.
Yeah, joining us now is senior law enforcement analyst, former acting CBP commissioner, and Heritage Foundation visiting fellow Mark Morgan. Mark, welcome back to the program. I saw this and I was just enraged, okay? This is a guy who's like, we are the sanctuary city. Come on in. We'll take care of everybody. And then hundreds of thousands of people, as Alison was just saying, are coming across the southern border, being absorbed into towns of 30, 40, 50,000 people in Texas. God forbid they send 5,000 to New York City, and he throws a tantrum.
Yeah, Carl, look, I was equally as outraged. I mean, his comments shows a complete ignorance of physically and the reality of the catastrophe on the southwest border. Unlike the New York mayor, I've been there. I was just there a few weeks ago where a judge, for the first time in our history, under the rule of law, declared his county was being invaded, because it is. Every aspect of their finances and resource and public health and safety are absolutely being decimated and overwhelmed. And this mayor has got to say, and this mayor has audacity to say they do more. And here's also what the mayor doesn't say. During the first 18 months of this administration, as the Biden administration and Secretary Mayorkas during the dead of night have been flying illegal aliens into New York City, not a word. As his sanctuary cities have encouraged NGOs to give these illegal aliens plane tickets, by the way, subsidized by the U.S. taxpayer. They're coming into JFK and LaGuardia every single day for the past 18 months. Not a single mention of that. It's absolutely unconscionable what he's saying right now.
Yeah, Mark, Mayor Adams isn't the only mayor who's upset. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser in 2016 called her city a sanctuary city, but now she's calling it a humanitarian crisis that must be dealt with at the federal level. What do you make of Democrats like Adams and Bowser's comments now?
Yeah, look, it's just, we're in a new world of hypocrisy, Lindsay. I mean, think about it. They, as Carl said, they, since day one, have been encouraging the open border policies of this administration. They've been encouraging Secretary Mayorkas to literally hand over operational control over southwest border to the governor and to the cartels. And what they failed to mention is that it's their support of sanctuary city laws that are encouraging the migrants to come. Because also what they don't tell you about is the busloads of illegal aliens that the governors are sending to these two cities. All these migrants, they're not forced to go. They said, hey, we're sending a bus to New York. Do you want to go? And people are lining up to go. Why? Because the sanctuary cities, they're treated as if they're here in the country legally, and they're treated as if they're a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, it'd be comical if it wasn't true. But Tennessee Senator and frequent guest of this show, Marsha Blackburn, questioned FBI director. Now, I took real issue with this. Christopher Wray, it was at a Senate Judiciary Oversight Committee, about the border crisis. Listen to this.
Do you agree that an open border is a national security threat?
As I think I said in response to my Senator Cornyn, I think there are serious security issues represented at the border, a wide array of criminal threats that we are deeply concerned about at the FBI.
Mark, if you fly the Betsy Ross flag, you're probably a terrorist, but the southern border, no problem.
Yeah, Carl, look, I served 20 years in the FBI, and the FBI that I see today is not the FBI that I served in. Look, the response from Director Wray should have been very clear to her question. Yes, it's a national security threat. It's been a national security threat, but it's been no larger than it is right now. And look, the FBI just thwarted, to their credit, a terrorist attack, a plot to assassinate a former president. And how are they going to do that? By bringing terrorists across a wide open southwest border. Of course, it's a national security vulnerability. But here's what I wish that the congressional members on the hearing would have done is follow up with Director Wray and say, well, have you spoken to the DHS secretary about this? And what is the FBI and DHS doing to address the national security vulnerability that's there because of our wide open borders. That's what we need to hear him say.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like we've heard of a plan. I want to get your reaction to this, Mark. Eric Adams tweeting this out yesterday, accusing Texas of an intentionally manufacturing a crisis. Now, you know what's going on at the border. What do you make of his remarks?
Look, my remarks is that he should be the second in line to be impeached from his office after Secretary Mayorkas. Those comments show a complete, unadulterated ignorance, and it's absolutely irresponsible and reckless to say comments like that, especially for a man that's never been to the border. Look, he's got a few thousand illegal aliens that have been busted in the city. There are some communities along the southwest border that get that every single 24 hours. And here's what he doesn't mention. Because of the wide open borders, Carl, Lindsay, you and I have talked about this. Over 1 million known and unknown gotaways have evaded apprehension, broken into our southwest border, and made their way to every town, city, and state, including New York. And among them are some violent people, murderers, drug dealers, rapists, pedophiles, and gang members.
You talk about you talk about drug dealers, though. I mean, like, we were just talking to Peter Pitts, and we were saying, like, hey, you know, monkeypox has been declared a national emergency, but 100,000 people, it's the #1 killer of people 18 to 45. 100,000 Americans dead every year from fentanyl, and they're doing they're not building the wall, but building the wall.
Right. And don't forget, the 107,000 that died, 95% of the fentanyl comes from the southwest border. These are facts. But yet this mayor says, oh, it's all okay. There's nothing going on here. There's nothing to see on our southwest border. Although we see it every single day with our own eyes through great reporting from Newsmax and maybe one other station that's out there. It's absolutely unbelievable. But look, I don't think the American people are buying it. I think that's why when it talks about border security, they're upside down in their polls. I think the average American that's actually paying attention knows the catastrophe that's happened on our southwest border.